It's absurd. We're not going to acknowledge it. By the way, the deadline is tomorrow. But we know part of this whole thing is the 30% revenue share. The NBA's been very clear. Adam Silver has been clear way back from when he was on with Good Morning America the first day of the National Basketball Association season. He was asked about the WNBA.
Recent developments in the Women's National Basketball Association collective bargaining negotiations have shown a significant standoff between team ownership and the players' organization. Members of the WNBA Players Association, including prominent voices like Nisha Collier, have publicly declared their unwavering stance on contract demands. However, ownership groups appear to be responding with their own form of silent resistance, which some observers find particularly striking. Rather than providing a counter-proposal to the union's submission, the ownership side has chosen not to respond at all. This non-response itself sends a powerful message that the initial demands are considered unreasonable and unworthy of further discussion. With the negotiation cutoff rapidly approaching, one central issue remains the players' request for a 30% portion of total revenues.
He was asked about the WNBA, and he was like, I wouldn't exactly call it revenue sharing. That was his way of saying, we're not doing that. The league hasn't generated the kind of revenue that warrants that kind of deal. We're not talking about any other of these sports leagues, the NBA, the NFL, even the NHL, which I meant to make a video on that, but
League Commissioner Adam Silver addressed this matter months earlier during an appearance on a morning television program at the start of the men's basketball season. When questioned about the Women's League, Silver carefully avoided using the term revenue sharing, effectively signaling that such an arrangement would not be feasible. Silver's position centers on the economic reality that the Women's League has not yet produced the financial returns that would justify such compensation structures. Comparisons to other professional sports organizations, including men's basketball, football, and even hockey, don't hold up under scrutiny. Some advocates for women's basketball attempted to draw parallels between hockey and the Women's Basketball League, but these arguments were quickly dismantled by informed observers. Credit goes to basketball enthusiasts who have taken time to understand the complexities of this contract proposal situation.
To make a video on that, but you had somebody out there that's championing women's basketball, trying to claim that the NHL and the WNBA is comparable, and that's laughable. And by the way, fans struck back and struck hard against that BS narrative that was floating around. Got to give the fans credit. The fans have educated themselves.
Many now recognize that the Women's League operates without turning a profit. They see substantial monetary offers being extended to athletes who appear reluctant to accept them. Star player Caitlin Clark's recent remarks at a national team training session emphasized the need for mutual concessions and the importance of actually playing games. Her perspective recognizes the existential threat facing the organization. Any work stoppage, particularly one affecting regular season competition, would create devastating publicity problems. Should such a disruption actually impact scheduled games, the league's future viability could be seriously questioned.
Got to give the fans credit. The fans have educated themselves on this WNBA CBA proposal situation. And a lot of fans realize now, okay, the league is not profitable. They're looking at the players being offered all this new money and the players not wanting to take it. And I cannot help but think about Caitlin Clark's comments at Team USA at the basketball camp, where she made it very clear there needs.
With less than 2 full days remaining before the established deadline, both parties remain in disagreement over the new labor contract. According to individuals with knowledge of the discussions, the players' organization had not yet received any feedback on their submission made approximately 14 days prior, as of Wednesday afternoon. The union's demands include roughly 30% of overall revenues, along with a team spending limit of $10.5 million, as verified by industry sources. These specific figures were initially disclosed by a major sports network the previous week. League officials estimate that accepting these terms would generate losses totaling $700 million across the contract's lifespan, according to that same reporting. The ownership side released their calculations publicly, making clear that the proposal represents an impossibility.
Where she made it very clear there needs to be compromise and we need to play basketball. I mean, and she's right. She understands this league is doomed if they strike, and if it even comes close to touching the regular season, it's going to be a horrible PR nightmare. And if it actually touches the regular season, this league is probably.
Their message was straightforward. The mathematics don't work, resulting in $750 million in red ink. The implication was unmistakable. A completely different approach is necessary. Considerable discussion has circulated regarding the supposed unsustainability of the players' requests. Nisha Collier addressed these concerns during a broadcast for the new Unrivaled competition on Monday. Using that platform to discuss WNBA contract negotiations drew sharp criticism as poor optics and questionable judgment. Collier referenced her involvement with Unrivaled as evidence of understanding what successful business operations require.
If it actually touches the regular season, this league is probably over. A little more than 48 hours ahead of the January 9 deadline, the WNBA and the WNBPA remain at odds over the new collective bargaining agreement. According to sources familiar with the negotiations, the union was still awaiting a response from the league to the proposal that they submitted roughly 2 weeks ago as of Wednesday afternoon. In that proposal, the players are seeking approximately.
This statement received widespread backlash because the new venture's long-term viability remains completely unproven. The Unrivaled organization currently relies entirely on investor capital rather than operational profits. True sustainability requires multiple years of demonstrated success, not weeks or months. Without extensive historical business performance data, such claims lack foundation and appear premature. Both negotiating parties agreed to extend their deadline twice after the original expiration date at the end of November. The previous month saw the Players Association authorize potential work stoppage action through a vote with 93% member participation.
Roughly 2 weeks ago, as of Wednesday afternoon. In that proposal, the players are seeking approximately 30% of gross revenue and a salary cap of $10.5 million, sources confirmed to Front Office Sports. Details of the union's proposal were first reported by ESPN last week. The league believes the proposal would result in $700 million in losses for the league and its teams over the duration of the CBA, according to that report. Yeah, I mean, the league literally went and they put it out there. This proposal.
An overwhelming 98% approved, granting their leadership committee authority to declare a strike when deemed appropriate. Without another extension agreement, either ownership could impose a lockout or players could initiate a strike, though neither action would occur automatically. Absent either side triggering a work stoppage, negotiations would continue under existing contract terms in what's called a status quo period. Under current agreement language, players cannot strike without ending the extended arrangement. However, if discussions proceed under status quo conditions, the union maintains strike authority at any moment. The union's submission came as a response to ownership's December proposal.
This is not going to happen. We've done the math. It's $700 million in losses. Try again. We're not doing this. Why would they? I mean, come on. Quote, you've heard a lot of chatter about what we're asking for is not sustainable for business, Nafisia Collier said during a Unrivaled broadcast Monday. Once again, going on Unrivaled, talking about the WNBA CBA process, it's a horrible look. It's
a particularly significant detail that has reduced public sympathy for the athletes involves salary structure changes. The team spending limit would jump from $1.5 million to $5 million, representing more than a threefold increase. Under ownership's most recent offer, the proposed revenue-linked system would establish maximum individual salaries exceeding $1.3 million with average compensation around $530,000. Critically, throughout the agreement's duration, these figures would escalate to nearly $2 million maximum and $780,000 average respectively. Current average salaries sit approximately around $120,000, meaning this proposal would eventually increase that figure to $780,000.
Hella views to begin with. They wasn't even getting hella views at all last year. Now, this year, their views is down by nearly 70%. This is very bad. Now, towards the decline of the WNBA season, towards the end of the season, we start seeing the WNBA kind of fudge the numbers, taking into account group party watch, well, basically watch party viewerships, counting those into, effect like bars and stuff like that. Now, with that being said, that metric
present maximum salary stands at $249,000, yet hesitation exists regarding an offer that would ultimately reach $2 million. The men's league commissioner and ownership have made their position unambiguous. The 30% demand will not be accepted, and they've clearly explained their reasoning. Among analysts and media members without agenda-driven motivations or promotional interests in women's athletics, a prevailing belief has emerged. Several knowledgeable commentators have openly suggested the league might simply cease operations rather than accept financially ruinous terms. However, many also believe this won't actually occur.
With that being said, that metric kind of lied about the numbers allegedly being what they was to close out the WNBA season. Now we're getting data from the Unrivaled pretty much claiming that their numbers are shot, gone, toast, finito, ain't looking good at all. I'm here to tell you the same thing is going to happen for the WNBA this season. The exact same effect that Unrivaled is seeing is going to happen. I've been telling y'all, the WNBA viewership has been on a...
Additional speculation suggests the athletes understand the 30% figure is unrealistic and are posturing to appear resolute before ultimately accepting the existing offer. Some possibility exists for minor adjustments, perhaps raising the spending limit by another million to reach 5.5 or 6 million instead of the proposed 5 million. Substantial movements like reaching 10.5 million appear extremely unlikely. The situation promises interesting developments in the remaining hours before the midnight deadline arrives. The outcome of these high-stakes negotiations will shape the league's future trajectory.
WNBA viewership has been on a decline. It don't take a rocket science to figure it out. The ladies simply killed the little hype that they had when they was being systematically offensive and abusing Caitlin Clark. Took away the casual fan. The casual fan was something the WNBA never had. I was a casual fan, and I'm pretty sure millions of other people across the nation was casual fans that wanted to watch the women's basketball sector. I'm here to tell you, the women's basketball...
Recent reports indicate that Unrivaled Basketball League faces significant challenges as audience numbers experience a dramatic decline, with Paige Bucher's presence failing to reverse the troubling trend. Questions now arise regarding what these developments signal for the WNBA's upcoming television return. Several months prior, observations were made about declining engagement with WNBA-related material across various platforms. The women's basketball content landscape showed early warning signs that substantial shifts were coming. Now, data reveals that Unrivaled's audience has plummeted approximately 70% compared to the previous year's figures.
The women's basketball sector. I'm here to tell you, the women's basketball sector is no longer what it was. I don't even think it's going to be half of what it was when the WNBA come back with some type of agreement for this 2026 season. That's why I've been telling y'all, if the 2026 season does not happen, the WNBA is over. It's over. We're not going to see it at all be what it once was. That's what the whole conversation is. We've been seeing YouTubers change up the content.
The severity of this drop becomes more apparent when considering that initial viewership numbers were already modest during the league's first season. A 70% decrease from an already limited audience base presents a serious concern. During the final weeks of the WNBA's most recent campaign, the organization began incorporating alternative metrics into their calculations, including group viewing experiences at establishments and collective watch parties. These adjusted measurement methods potentially inflated the reported figures used to characterize the season's conclusion. Current information emerging from Unrivaled suggests their audience metrics are severely compromised, showing dismal performance across the board.
Change up the content. We've been seeing people talk about other topics. We even been seeing other creators come in my lane and cover football. It's that bad. Some people might need to make a living. I don't know what the situation is, but I know I originally has not been a basketball channel. I just went back home. Now, for people doing what they want to do, to each his own. Now, just like I stated, there is some shocking data coming out of the WNBA pipeline. And I'm here to tell you the WNBA, well, really, this.
Similar patterns are anticipated for the WNBA's upcoming season. Women's basketball viewership has demonstrated a consistent downward trajectory. The situation requires no advanced analysis to comprehend. The league's talent essentially eliminated the momentum they had built when treatment of Caitlin Clark became a contentious issue, driving away the broad audience that had recently discovered the sport. That mainstream viewership represented something unprecedented for women's professional basketball.
WNBA pipeline. And I'm here to tell you the WNBA, well, really, this ain't got nothing to do with the WNBA, but they're going to be affected by this too. Unrivaled ratings for Monday, January 5th was 40,000. This is bad. This is very, very bad, guys. One person said, I have never seen something aged so poorly so fast. She said this just 2 days ago. We learned Unrivaled failed to crack 50,000 viewers on opening.
Millions of everyday sports fans nationwide had begun following the women's game with genuine interest. The women's basketball industry no longer maintains its recent standing. Expectations suggest it won't achieve even half its previous success when the WNBA returns for the 2026 campaign, assuming any broadcast agreement materializes. Should the 2026 season fail to launch, the league's future appears extremely uncertain. The prospect of recapturing former glory seems increasingly remote.
Opening day, the actual business in the WNBA are laughing their asses off right now. Now, this is what Nafisa Collier said. She said this. I reported on this a couple of days ago when they was talking about the CBA. She went on to say, being on the side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business. So I think if they can't find a model that makes that happen, they need to put people in place who can. Nafisa Collier.
Content creators have already begun pivoting away from women's basketball coverage. Digital personalities have shifted focus toward alternative subjects. Even creators outside traditional basketball spaces have moved toward football content. The circumstances have become that dire. Alarming statistics continue emerging from the women's basketball sphere.
Place who can. Nafisa Collier said by her being on the board of Unrivaled, she's seen how to sustain a business. Somebody said we want the season to start on time. They need to come with an agreement. Exactly. Because y'all want to know who gets affected by all of this? The fans. The fans are getting affected. The little fans that they have left will get affected if it's a lockout. And from what I heard and what I reported yesterday,
while Unrivaled operates independently from the WNBA, the ramifications will inevitably impact the professional league. Monday, January 5th viewership for Unrivaled registered just 40,000 individuals. The severity of this figure cannot be overstated. Commentary surfaced stating that rarely has an enterprise deteriorated so rapidly and comprehensively. Just days earlier, reports confirmed Unrivaled couldn't surpass 50,000 viewers during their season premiere.